we had X amount of artists, X amount of programmers. So this was really helpful for some data mining afterwards and for future planning. And the last thing that we did is the change request management. You can imagine how much resistance I got out of this. How many changes you can imagine happens in a project of a AAA with 15, 20 hours of gameplay. So what we did, we decided that we wanted to document and discuss openly any changes that required more than a week's work. We weren't getting into the tiny details. But when we established that it required, more than 1 week for the whole team to work on, we said, oh, just because X, the technical director, wants this, does he know there's an impact? Again, the three-legged chair, time, money, and scope. Let's discuss about this. And if it's a go, at least it would be a team decision. Is this my last slide? Nope, one more. So what did we learn out of this experience? Well, to be honest, for a project management mindset to be implemented in any kind of enterprise, not just in the video game industry, it has to come top down. Meaning, if the top decider, the CEO, the general manager, the executive producer don't believe in this, it will not fly. That doesn't mean that you need to have support on the ground. What I'm saying is, you might have support on the ground, but if the top management doesn't believe in this, you're going to work for nothing. So it's really important, and why this worked is that the CEO of Ubisoft Montreal wanted to have this done. And we had his blessing. He was our sponsor. So this was ground zero. You need to start with that. Afterwards, I think it could be quite intimidating. It's like climbing the Everest. You need to take your time. You say, what needs to be done step by step. And as I mentioned, I had established people, tool, process in that order. Again, the video game is super creative, so you need to be flexible. I didn't come with my boots and I said, I'm going to teach you how to do a project. If I did that, I would be dead. So you need to create your credibility. And by so, you need to be flexible. You need to communicate with these people because you're going to change, in certain aspects, their way of working. So you need to be flexible and you need to convince them the benefits of what you're trying to implement. Fourthly, we learned that you need to share, and this comes with my transparency issue. You need to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. There's not a lot of people who are open to say, I'm not on track on this, we're not doing so good on this. It's understandable. It's human behavior. But you know what? For us to take the good decisions, you need to share the good, the bad, and the ugly. And you know what? You need to celebrate every small success. So if there's a milestone, if there's a sprint that was respected, you bring out the beer, you take the guys out, the staff out. You really need to underline every small wins. This, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. Before going to the next section, I would like to take some questions right away on the project management, if you have any. Come on, guys. Yes, you over there.
You said that you expanded from 1,450 people in 9 years. So how did you kind of like manage that? Did you have like more managers? And did it like in some way compromise the stability of the project, your current working? And how did you manage to keep things stable by grow at the same?
You're talking about resource planning?
Yeah. Actually, I'm talking about your, scalability, you said that you ramped up from 450 to 1450 staff in an year. So how did you manage that? How did you, keep things stable? The projects that were existingly, running, how did you keep them stable while managing your growth up?
That's a very good question. I mean, resource planning, when you have this amount of people to monitor, is a super great challenge. And you cannot be perfect. You need at least to have clear visibility of, again, the offer and the demand, the internal offer and demand. Obviously, when a team ramps down and the other one ramps up, first of all, you look at the numbers. I have 88 people coming off this week, and I have 56 needed on other teams. But after that simple, basic remark, you need to see the trades. You need what? 56 what? Is it 18 programmers? 24 artists? You need to break down the resources. So our database was actually quite flexible and very fast to show us, even though we had maybe 88 people coming out and 56 needed, that we won't be able to fill out the 56 even if there's 88 people coming out, because you need to match the exact needs. And so what we did, when we had people, we call them, we had them on the sideline. We call them non-assigned people. We took time when it happened for more than, let's say, a month. And we really wanted to keep them on board, because obviously it's important to keep good resources, even though that you don't have a job for them right now, but they're on board. We send them to training for a longer period of time to really try to flatten out this availability sometimes that happen. But nothing is perfect. It wasn't always a perfect match. It was never a perfect match. And it was difficult because of the amount of people that we were dealing with. And sometimes an example, we saw that we needed some game designers, junior game designers. And we saw an opportunity to offer our QA guys and girls to maybe take a course in game design, because game design is very hard to teach. You cannot bring somebody, sit down for a year or so, you're going to be able to do some game design. Game design is something very hard to teach, and the testers are playing so many games. They're so aware of all kinds of games out there that these were great junior game designers. So when we were looking to fill every spot, we were thinking a lot of different opportunities, but at least we knew what we were faced upon. It wasn't improvised. Yes?
Hi, this is Varun Gupta. Nowadays, a lot of games are global, and managing project management in a global environment is easier than it was 10 years back. So the question is, what are the challenges that you faced, and how did you meet them managing projects globally managing the projects globally? Project management in a global environment 10 years back, how did you meet the challenges?
I'm not quite sure I understand, sorry.
So how did you meet the challenges 10 years back in managing projects globally?
Globally, very good. Yes, in fact, the dashboard that we created, the one that we had all the projects for the next, I think was 36 months, so 3 years. So you can imagine it was a huge Excel spreadsheet with a lot of colors, but that wasn't there before. Even they had 7 projects, they should have had this to really see, at least at a high level, if I understand your question correctly, how to manage multiple projects, at least to have a grand scope of things. And certainly, we could delay games that were ready to start because we knew with this template that we won't have the resources on time. But in fact, 4 months after, we had a surplus of resources. So at a general level, at a high level, there's tools, project management tools that really helps but you need good data and clear and transparent data. So the real stuff. And if you don't have that, you will act upon improvisation. So one of my mottos was also reduce improvisation to reduce frustration. We could talk afterwards. I might have more things. Yes?
As we know that artists and developers, like programmers, have different ways of approaching problems in their own terms.
Yes.
And it's the designer's job to make them share the same vision kind of thing.
Well, I think simple, basic, good logic, I think, penetrates any kind of people. If you're a great artist or a great programmer, if you say, guys, we have a huge risk if we do this, yes, but maybe how you communicate it to artists, how you convince a programmer is, and this is where my managers needed to know how to work. As I mentioned, they need to work with a multi-skilled team. They need to know how to talk to the very, somebody that is very sensible, very art director, and somebody that only acts on faith with hard data. And the managers need to adjust their communication skills, absolutely. And it's not just a one message to all, take it or leave it. You need to adjust, customize your message.
The same way as you said, how you put it, it's if the problem is solved by the designer itself, and the problem is solved there itself, it's like a technical limitation or the board share, and the problem is solved there itself. Other than that, what else problems do you face as a project manager? Other than just the technical limitations between the programmers and artists, as they have problems between developing the things in the real world and how the designer dreamt it before. When it goes into the pre-production, the things change when it comes to production.
Yes.
So other than that, when it is not coming to the technical possibilities of bringing the thing into the real life form, are there any other several problems do you face?
Well, in different phases, you face different challenges, if I understand your question correctly. I mean, in concept, you say what you want to do. In pre-production, you want to say, I will do what I want to do with these types of processes and tools, and production normally is execution. We understand that, but it's not the case always. So what you want to do, if that's green lighted, you say, okay, what do you need to create what you want to do? And pre-production is very often cut because they're late, because we're in a hurry to start production. But in fact, I think in recent years, I've seen a lot of studios prolong their pre-production because it's shooting yourself in the foot, cutting your pre-production. And we have like 100 people ready to work on production. No, we're not ready to embark on this. You need to set your tools and your processes. And in production, well, there's all kinds of problems. You need to extinguish fires daily. You need to react very rapidly. So yes, there's all kinds of different problem sets in every stages.
Thank you.
Hello. I would like to know what was...
Yes.
Sorry. I would like to know in your companies at Ubisoft and Eidos Montreal, what was the repartition between programmers, artists, game designers, in terms of not numbers, of percentage, and also what is the average turnaround of the companies?
Okay. Basically, and this for a fact almost, any kind of project in AAA, there's about a quarter are programmers. That is pretty much, I've witnessed this and I've confirmed this in many stages. Artists are nearly 50%. And afterwards, I do not put in the same category animators, let's say, okay? When I say artists, it's mainly modelers, textures, riggers, and all this. In animation is different. Animation in a AAA, again, depending of your cutscene strategy, if it's in-game or CGI, it's about 12 people. And audio, you have 3 guys running daily crazy, and they're always rushed at the end. And pretty much for 100 people, you have 4 managers, a producer, associate, coordinator, maybe a second coordinator, or maybe a second associate. Who am I missing?
For the game designer?
Well, yeah, in game design is the balance of the percentage, so certainly 15%. If I may, I'll just continue, and if we have other questions on project management, I will answer.
Yeah, I think this is the last question. If I
Yes.
may. When you're hiring interns, actually interns can be dealt a little different than an employee. What are the special attentions to be paid to the processes or hiring in terms of intern, or even the assigning the work actually to the interns?
Sorry.
Oh, okay, fine. In a company, you have, in addition to the employees, generally we hire interns also. Those who will do the internship with you for a certain time. Fine. Whenever you bring interns to the company, how you fit those interns in the processes, because generally interns to be handled little differently or delicately compared to the employees.
You know what? I would like to answer that maybe right after, because I see my ticker here and I have tons, and we'll take more time because I don't want to rush an answer to that great question. So I see I don't have much time. So a lot of people ask me, why Montreal? What is happening? Is it in the water? What's with Montreal? Why? Let's remember, 15 years ago, there wasn't much video game in Montreal. 15 years ago. Okay? What happened? So people that don't understand our reality or our landscape think it's a singular reason, the tax credit. And when I hear that, I understand their reaction. It's because they don't understand how we build this. And this is a couple of slides I would like to explain. I see at least 6 major factors. And you could ask any company that decided to invest in Montreal. I'm pretty sure these 6 are among their reasons. So we all know that Montreal has nearly 8,750 people in video games, in content creation. So that's a healthy hub. It's the 3rd hub in the world, after Tokyo and the Bay Area. We did this in 15 years. So if I was an investor, I said, okay, do you have talent? I say yes. I will be asked, is this pool of talent declining, stable, or increasing, because I'm going to be investing for the long run? The answer is yes. This pool of talent is always rising, despite the ups and downs of what we're knowing. Yes, we had a couple of studios closed down in Montreal last year, but you know what? 80% of the people that were laid off were reabsorbed by other studios locally. What happens in Montreal, and not a lot of people know about this, Montreal is a great, not just video games, but it's a great, in the entertainment industry, we're very creative. So we have really created a ecosystem that I will demonstrate later on, that feeds each other. Obviously, we have not just the tax credit, but life is pretty, doesn't cost as much as in major hubs in the Northeast or the North America. We have very strong support from the government, and not just money-wise, job-wise, training-wise, and I'll come back to this. And Montreal is, I think, really in the middle of 2 continents, where really we have we share the same culture, the joie de vivre, as the European, and we also share, obviously, the fast-paced work ethic of America. Maybe Boston can say so, but I don't see a lot of cities that are sharing as much out of 2 continents as Montreal. I will go fast on this because I see my ticker. What's interesting, Montreal is known as the Hollywood of AAA in games, because I have a couple of slides, but we are diverse. We have a great diversification. We're doing now free-to-play, iOS, Android games. So we're doing great games, but not just on consoles. It's growing every year because we have good schools. We are able to attract worldwide. This is the actual ramp-up of the studio that I built in 2007. This is myself in my basement alone. And this goes up to 500. And this was December 2012. So this is the actual ramp up. And I could say it's not super exceptional. It is very good, but it's not totally exceptional in Montreal. So blue is developers, testers, R&D, marketing, and administration. Sorry if I'm going a little bit fast here. So when I'm talking about the ecosystem, video games, animation, visual effects is starting to be quite big in Montreal. We have the movie, entertainment industry. We have software and middleware development. We have specialized outsourcers. We have schools, and also the IT is quite healthy in Montreal. So as I mentioned, these are the AAA guys. We have the mobile guys, and we have the indies. So great diversity. 4 years ago, we didn't have all this here. These games were all made in Montreal. So I don't know if you're an avid AAA, and unfortunately I won't be able to play the video because my time is running out. I had a video of 2X, but I hope that you know about 2X. First project of a studio hitting 89% Metacritic on console, 90 on PC, and all these games were very well received. Mobile. We have great studios in Montreal. They don't have as much spotlight as the AAA, but there are great games coming out of Montreal on this platform. These are a couple of examples of indie games. So Red Barrel did Outlast. Red Barrel is a startup company with a couple of guys from Ubisoft Montreal, senior guys that wanted to do something else than working on big games for 3-4 years. Contrast was, again, is coming out this month. Fez, very popular game on XBLA and other platforms. This you might not be aware of, but there's all these studios are major players in the domain they're working, in animation and visual effects. Movie and entertainment industries, you all know, I hope, Le Cirque du Soleil, we like to mention that, but there's also a slew of other companies similar to the Cirque du Soleil that